What if everything we know is just the last chapter of a much older story?
The Earth has always been a restless stage, long before humanity ever appeared to walk upon it. To imagine the planet in its earliest ages is to imagine a world in constant transformation, continents colliding and tearing apart, oceans opening and closing, mountains rising skyward only to be ground down by glaciers.
The surface of the Earth is not fixed but alive, a shifting canvas upon which countless dramas have played out. When we speak of history, we usually mean the last few thousand years: the Sumerians, the Egyptians, the Greeks, the Romans. Yet the story of Homo sapiens stretches back far deeper into time than once believed. For decades, scientists thought our species emerged around 200,000 years ago in East Africa. But discoveries at Jebel Irhoud, a windswept site in Morocco, have rewritten that timeline.
Beneath the wide African sky, on a savanna dotted with thorn trees, a small band of humans once gathered around a fire. Sparks rose into the night as stone tools lay scattered at their feet, still warm from the flames that hardened them. They could not have known that hundreds of millennia later, those same stones would speak for them. When uncovered in the dry earth of Morocco, they revealed a startling truth. Our kind had walked the land more than 300,000 years ago. Far older than scholars once believed, these ancestors remind us that humanity's beginnings were not a single dawn in one corner of the world, but a slow, sprawling awakening across the whole of Africa.
Their faces, reconstructed from fossilized skulls, look strikingly familiar. Modern in their brows and jaws, though their brain cases were longer, echoing older ancestors. They were not almost human, they were us, living lives of firelight, stone, and survival. And yet, for nearly all of those hundreds of thousands of years, they left no written record, no monuments, no cities. 97% of our existence remains undocumented, a vast ocean of time filled with questions. What happened in those immense stretches? Did we live only as scattered hunter-gatherers, or did some groups rise higher, only to be erased by catastrophe? The evidence is tantalizing but fragmentary. A hearth here, a tool there, a fossilized bone. Enough to prove our presence, but not enough to tell our story. Each discovery is like a single word torn from a book whose pages have been burned. We know that people laughed, hunted, dreamed, and mourned, but the details are lost. Were there forgotten experiments in culture, in ritual, in technology? Brief sparks of brilliance that vanished before they could spread. Perhaps whole traditions, songs, or myths once flourished, only to dissolve into silence, leaving us with echoes too faint to decipher.
This is the haunting mystery at the heart of our journey, that the Earth has forgotten most of what came before, and that we too may one day be forgotten.
The Earth has never been a gentle cradle. It is a planet of upheaval, a world that builds and destroys in equal measure. To understand how fragile human memory is, we must first understand the forces that shape the ground beneath our feet. 66 million years ago, long before humans, an asteroid the size of a mountain struck what is now the Yucatan Peninsula. In a blink of an eye, the age of the dinosaurs ended. Forests burned, skies darkened, oceans boiled with acid rain. The impact was so violent that it reset the evolutionary clock, clearing the stage for mammals to rise. That event is a reminder that catastrophe is not rare in Earth's story. Closer to our own time, 74,000 years ago, the Toba supervolcano erupted in Indonesia.
The explosion was so vast that it may have plunged the Earth into a volcanic winter lasting years. Ash blanketed continents, sunlight dimmed, and global temperatures dropped. Some genetic studies suggest that the human population shrank to a few thousand survivors, a bottleneck that nearly ended our species before history even began. If small bands of humans had achieved any level of cultural complexity before that eruption, their traces would have been obliterated by fire, famine, and time. Then there are the ice ages, the slow but relentless sculptors of continents. For most of the last 2 million years, glaciers advanced and retreated in cycles, carving valleys, grinding mountains into dust, and locking away vast amounts of water. When the ice sheets finally melted, sea levels rose by more than 120 meters. Entire landscapes disappeared beneath the waves. Imagine the coastlines of today: New York, London, Shanghai, Mumbai, vanishing under the sea. If our civilization were erased in such a flood, what would remain for future archaeologists to find?
The ocean is both cradle and grave. During the Ice Age, areas like the Sunda Shelf in Southeast Asia, the Bering Land Bridge between Siberia and Alaska, and the Doggerland plains of northern Europe were dry, fertile, and inhabited. When the seas rose, these lands drowned. Today, their remains lie buried under silt and waves. Divers and dredgers occasionally recover stone tools or fragments of structures, but the vast majority of these drowned worlds remain hidden. This is why myths of lost continents, Atlantis in the Atlantic, Mu in the Pacific, Lemuria in the Indian Ocean, continue to resonate. They may not be literal, but they echo the truth that entire landscapes and the people who lived upon them have been swallowed by the sea. The ocean is the perfect eraser. Salt water corrodes, currents scatter, sediments bury. What chance does a fragile human monument have against such forces? When we look at the geological record, we see not stability, but upheaval. Earth is a planet that forgets. It forgets species, it forgets landscapes, and it may well have forgotten civilizations. If the Earth forgets, then myth remembers. Long before writing carved symbols into clay or inked words onto papyrus, humanity carried its history in stories. Around fires, under the wheeling stars, voices rose and fell, weaving tales of golden ages, of floods and fires, of gods who walked among mortals. These myths were not idle diversions, they were vessels of memory, coded in allegory so that truths could survive the erosion of time. The Greeks spoke of a golden age, when humans lived in harmony with the divine, free from toil and suffering. The earth gave its bounty without labor, peace reigned, and death came gently. But the Golden Age ended, replaced by the Silver, the Bronze, and finally the Iron Age, each one a decline from the perfection that came before. Was this simply a moral tale or a dim recollection of a time when life was easier, perhaps during a climate of abundance before catastrophe struck?
In India, the ancient Vedic texts describe the Yugas, vast cycles of time. The Satya Yuga, or Age of Truth, was an age of purity and wisdom. Over millennia, humanity declined into the Kali Yuga, the age of darkness and strife, in which we are said to live today. Again, the pattern is clear: a memory of greatness, followed by loss. The Mayan Popol Vuh tells of worlds destroyed and remade. The gods first created humans of mud, but they dissolved. Then they made humans of wood, but they were soulless and hollow. Finally, after floods and fires, they created humans of maize, who endured. Here too is the theme of cycles, of destruction and renewal, of forgotten ages swept away. The The Sumerian king list, one of the oldest written records we possess, speaks of kings who reigned for thousands of years before the Great Flood. After the flood, reigns became shorter, more human. Scholars interpret these as mythic exaggerations, but they may also encode memories of a time before catastrophe, when life seemed to stretch beyond measure.
Across cultures separated by oceans, the same motifs appear: floods, golden ages, radiant beings, sudden destruction. It is as if humanity carries a collective memory of catastrophe, passed down through story. Myths are not proof of lost civilizations, but they are evidence of humanity's obsession with them. They are the echoes of something half-remembered, something too vast to vanish entirely. And then there are the anomalies in stone. Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, built around 9600 BCE, is a monumental temple complex predating agriculture and cities. Its sophistication suggests that organized religion and architecture existed far earlier than once believed. Baalbek in Lebanon contains massive stone blocks, some weighing over 1,000 tons, whose purpose and method of transport remain debated. Puma Punku in Bolivia features precision-cut stones with interlocking shapes, raising questions about the tools used. None of these sites prove the existence of forgotten civilizations, but they whisper of possibilities. They remind us that the story of humanity is not as straightforward as textbooks suggest. They invite us to wonder what else lies buried, waiting to be remembered.
If myth is humanity's attempt to remember, then the Earth itself is the great forgetter. Civilizations, no matter how mighty, are fragile against the scale of geological time. This idea that entire ages may have risen and fallen without leaving a trace is what some call the Great Forgetting. Imagine a society that flourished along the coasts of the Ice Age world. Their villages, perhaps even cities, would have been built near rivers and fertile shores, just as ours are today. When the glaciers melted and the seas rose, those settlements would have been swallowed. Within centuries, the waves would have dismantled their walls. Within millennia, silt would have buried their remains. Today, they would lie beneath hundreds of feet of water, invisible to all but the most determined explorers. Even on land, time is merciless. Wood, textiles, and leather vanish quickly. Metals corrode, clay crumbles. If a culture relied on perishable materials, almost nothing would survive. Consider how little evidence would remain of our own world if we disappeared tomorrow. Within 50 years, forests would reclaim suburbs, and wildlife would thrive in abandoned cities. Within 500 years, skyscrapers would collapse, bridges would fall, and dams would burst. Within 5,000 years, only stone monuments would remain, weathered and broken. Within 50,000 years, even those would be eroded into hills.
Future archaeologists might find a few traces: plastic fragments, radioactive isotopes, odd chemical signatures in the soil, but the story of our world would be almost impossible to reconstruct. This perspective forces us to reconsider the past. If our own civilization could vanish so completely, why not others? The absence of evidence is not necessarily evidence of absence. It may simply be the result of time's relentless erasure. Some scientists have even speculated about what they call the Silurian Hypothesis. The idea that if an industrial civilization had existed millions of years ago, would we be able to detect it today? Their conclusion was sobering. After millions of years, almost all direct evidence would be gone. Only subtle chemical traces, changes in carbon isotopes, unusual deposits in the geological record might remain. In other words, the Earth could have hosted civilizations before us, and we might never know. This is not to say that such civilizations definitely existed.
Mainstream archaeology holds that complex societies arose only in the last 10,000 years. But the possibility reminds us of the fragility of memory. It reminds us that history is not a straight line, but a cycle of rise and fall, of creation and forgetting.
If the Great Forgetting teaches us humility, then the myths of lost worlds offer us something else: perspective. They remind us that we are not the center of time, but participants in a cycle far larger than ourselves. Whether Atlantis, Mu, or Hyperborea ever truly existed is almost beside the point. What matters is that across cultures, across continents, across millennia, humanity has carried the same haunting intuition that we are not the first to walk this path, and we may not be the last. The persistence of these stories suggests they serve a deeper purpose. They are warnings, parables, and perhaps even encoded memories. They tell us that greatness can be undone in a single night of fire and water. They tell us that hubris invites downfall. They tell us that the earth itself is not a passive stage, but an active force, capable of sweeping away everything we build. And yet, there is also hope in these tales. For every flood, there is a survivor. For every collapse, there is renewal. The Popol Vuh speaks of humans remade from maize, enduring where earlier creations failed. The Sumerian flood hero, Ziusudra, survives to begin anew. Noah builds his ark. Deucalion and Pyrrha repopulate the world after Zeus's deluge. These myths remind us that even in destruction, life finds a way forward. As we look at our own world, the parallels are sobering. We live in an age of skyscrapers and satellites, of digital archives and global networks. Yet all of it is fragile. A shift in climate, a volcanic eruption, an asteroid impact. Any of these could erase our achievements. Within centuries, our cities would crumble. Within millennia, our monuments would erode. Within tens of thousands of years, only faint traces would remain, and even those would puzzle whoever came after. Perhaps this is why the myths resonate so deeply. They are not just stories of the past. They are mirrors of our own vulnerability. They remind us that civilization is not guaranteed, that memory is fragile, that time is vast. They invite us to imagine a world before time began, and to recognize that we too may one day be forgotten. If we were gone tomorrow, how long before even the memory of us was lost? And if this has happened before, how many times has the Earth forgotten? The Earth rarely gives us full sentences. It offers fragments, a broken bone, a fire pit long cooled by time, a tool worn smooth by hands long gone. From these, we reconstruct meaning. We imagine lives from shadows. A single footprint in volcanic ash tells us someone walked there, perhaps with others. A burial with red ochre suggests ritual, perhaps love, perhaps grief. A cave painting of a hand, just a hand, whispers, "I was here." Undeniably, they exist. They are but echoes, and yet they are enough. Archaeologists read layers of soil like chapters. Mythologists decode symbols like forgotten alphabets. Historians trace patterns in ruins, trying to hear the stories that time tried to erase. Göbekli Tepe, Baalbek, Puma Punku. These are just a few of the names we speak, some of the stones we study. But they are not alone. All across the earth, there are countless other sites, other questions, other whispers, places that challenge what we think we know, places that remain shrouded in mystery. Meaning is not always found in what remains.
Sometimes it is found in what should be there, but isn't. A missing city, a vanished coastline, a silence where song once lived. This is the work of memory, not to preserve everything, but to listen for what still speaks. These are the echoes of forgotten Earth.
If this stirred something in you, if it sparked questions or quiet reflection, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment, share your perspective, and if you're ready to explore further into the shadows of the past, like, subscribe, and stay connected. Join us next time as we delve into the echoes of Earth's forgotten story.